I'm a black man. I've experienced injustice, police brutality, and I'm sick and tired. I'm tired.
What is it like being a black man in America? And the best way I can put it is inauspicious.
Police brutality, I've experienced that my first time when I was 16. A cop pulled a gun on me. Pulled us over. I was 16 years old. I was riding passenger seat. I got pulled over. I was with an older gentleman. We just came from a park. I got pulled over, normal traffic stop. But, they came out guns blazing as if I don't know what they thought, but yeah, it kind of gave me some trauma.
I experienced injustice just on a personal note. My brother was shot down in front of me, my mom, my family, and we were homeless for 6 months. And the only way the police was gonna help us by telling us to find out the killer's name. That's the only way we was gonna get help. So they wanted us to just find the killer's name or they wasn't gonna help us, and we didn't get no help, mind you. My mom's still fighting to this day. Till this day. Till this day.
Another statistic is that I'm 3 times more likely to be born into poverty than my white counterpart, and that kind of ties into the opportunities or lack thereof for the African American family, the black family in America in general. So it's just not one towards just African American or black males, just the African American family lack opportunities in this country. And with that said, is that I am twice less likely to score a job as a black male in this country. Twice less likely to get a job as a black male without a criminal record compared to my white counterpart with a criminal record. And that just goes to the biases on how society views the African American male. And with that, if I happen to be that odd and get that job over my white counterpart, I am twice more likely to be paid $7 less an hour. From an hourly perspective, $7 less than my white counterpart with that criminal record. Inauspicious is how it feels to be black in America.
That's what it feels like. It's pretty rough, man. But I have optimism because I feel like the reason why things happen like this is because of fear. And I'm very dominant, and the black man is very strong. Because if he wasn't this strong, then everybody wouldn't be so scared of us and have so much fear over us and try to conquer us at all times. But they can't. Can't conquer the mind. But I say all that to say that black lives always matter. And don't you ever forget that.
And I pray for the families that's out there lost and need help and guidance. I pray for the families, George Floyd, and I just pray for him. And we here. They can't stop us. We here.
All right, y'all, welcome to the Block Party PM. My name is Shanae.
I'm China.
And I'm Jessica.
So normally when we do these videos, they're typically like fun, energetic, off the wall, wild. We were supposed to do a video last week. We decided due to everything that's going on, we needed to come up with something that's a little bit more substance to really talk about what's going on in our community specifically. Black Lives Matter is very important to us. And we really wanted to speak from the heart just because there's been so much going on and not enough going on at the same time. The video that you guys just got to see is a very small clip. We've asked a few of our brothers, a few of our black men to kind of give their experience on what they've been experiencing, and not only in this country, but in the world as far as experiencing injustice when it comes to what happens to our people. So you guys will be seeing a full version of that. Obviously, 2 minutes, 3 minutes is not enough to just talk about the Black man's experience. But we definitely did want to do something just so that way you can hear a little bit of what they go through on a normal day-to-day basis. So with this video, please understand that these are only our experiences and things that we want to share that we're going through. So this is not telling you like, hey, you got to do this. These are just specifically our experiences of what we're going through. Ladies, when you guys reached out to your fellow brothers to do the video, what was it like for you to hear their experiences of experience injustice within this country and the world? Like China, for you, I know you had somebody that was in the UK that pretty much had talked about.
Well, like, first of all, this might seem really naive, but I didn't realize how far police brutality stretched. So like, even right now to see like Ghana or like, you know what I'm saying? Like these different places, like really like rioting with us and protesting with us, it's so wild. And people all over, like the Netherlands, like they're having problems with police brutality. I was like, what the heck? But like to see the UK, that was a really big deal for me. And like, this is one of my really, really good friends who brings me so much joy, such a nice person. And the fact that I never even knew that he had like his face was fractured, his eye socket, he had to get surgery from like a police encounter. And I didn't even know that they had like the stop and frisk. They call it like stop and search. So like it was, I don't know, when I asked people, I was like trying to be super, I tried to come at them like really like kind and gentle, like if you feel comfortable, because you don't realize like how uncomfortable it is to probably talk about you know, things like that happening to you, and then to ask him to do it on video. So I tried to be really careful.
Absolutely. For me, a lot of it was interesting. Some stories I have heard before, but immediately the response to the questions that they had to answer were, one, they didn't know how deeply impacted they were during this time. Like it took a while to realize it because again, one, you suppress those emotions, you know, because you figure, you know, as a Black male that your friends and peers go through it too. So you don't necessarily talk about it. You know, it's not something that you want to relive over and over again. And it definitely sparked deeper conversations about injustice overall, systemically overall, from, you know, police brutality to education to just the workforce in general. So it was very, very eye-opening for them and for me as well to hear these stories and to see how, you know, suppressed their emotions were when it came to something like this, and how emotional some of them would get and reveal those while they were revealing it and recalling what actually happened to them.
Yeah. I think for me, so one of the stories that really hit me was hearing my cousin. So my cousin, he basically got murdered, and his brother spoke out, and he just was explaining that literally the cops basically didn't want to do anything to help. They instead decided to label him as a gang member. And they basically told my family that they had to find the name of the person in order for them to arrest them. So they weren't going to do a search. They weren't going to do anything. They were just going to label him as he is a gang member. Basically not our problem. You guys figure it out. And then we'll come in once you figure it out.
Where was this? This
was in Long Beach, California. And to hear that still there was no justice done to that, it's like, it hurts my heart to know that that hasn't been resolved. But you know what's crazy about it too is to know that some of us have we become so numb to like what's going on, that we're like, okay, this is what it is, or we're still fighting and finally my aunt like really spoke out on it, and even after she was talking to the papers and all of that, and just putting up my cousin's name of like he was not a gang member, but also on top of, if he was a gang member, what does that have to
exactly? It's sad that saying stuff like he was a gang member or like he was a bully or he had a past, like there's still a justice system because of like for reasons like that. Just because you're a bully in high school doesn't mean you deserve to be murdered. It's just, it doesn't work like that. That's the point of living in, you know, the land of the free, and to have this justice system. So it's like, even if, like, I hate when people even bring up like I heard people bringing up stuff about like George Floyd and like people's past or whatever, and they use that to really like to make it okay for us to be killed. And it really does psychologically. A lot of people, like non-Black people, will say to you like, oh, but wasn't he I'm like, that doesn't matter. Like, we have a president that has a checkered past. You know what I'm saying? So I really hate, you know, and it's weird because you don't hear about it. Like, I always feel so blessed to live in California, because I'm like, you know, it's not the South, but it's like when I hear things that are that close to home, it's like, damn, like, you really can't escape it from anywhere.
Well, recently they just came out with George, apparently George and Derek, I guess they supposedly knew each other. So my thing is, I don't care if they knew each other. Literally, this guy used his badge to basically commit a crime. Basically to commit murder. So it's like, I don't care what George did. I don't care about his past. And then people are getting upset saying like, we shouldn't use him as our martyr or whatever, which is like, why is that become a thing?
It's not, we're not using, it's so funny because my favorite thing to do or to see is when Jane Elliott, who's an activist, a vocalist when it comes to how African-American people are treated. And she's a white female. She's been doing this, like, she's made it her mission. When she asked them, would you trade positions with an African-American person knowing how they're treated in America? That one question shuts them out, period.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. Their past doesn't matter. It doesn't warrant you killing someone and taking a life away. No matter what they've done, no matter how, you know, how they've come to that position. For me, I'm like, I want to see the body cam footage, because there was 10 minutes that he was alive, well, moving, cooperating. Like, what happened from the car to the ground? What happened? And I'm like, knowing that he knew Derek during that time is even more interesting, and like made me want to know more details about what actually happened, because I'm like, did he say something that struck a nerve with Derek? Did he know something? Did he, you know, like, what happened? Why haven't we seen any body cam footage as of yet?
And just protocol. Like I worked at Universal when I was like 18, and we saw, like, you know, that's like the biggest tourist attraction ever. So much counterfeit money has crossed my path. They make you take a class. I can tell a fake. I could tell a fake dollar bill in a second. So our protocol was like, you just don't give it back to them. Like, I've never been like, okay, we're gonna. And I had people from like random places like Saudi Arabia, like big money, coming with like thousands of dollars worth of counterfeit money. And we weren't like, okay, we're gonna get the police over here. We're gonna, you know, like and it wasn't like, this guy, he's gotta die. Like, it was you thought it was a fake 20, like a $20 bill. You murdered someone. You guys came out with 4 officers for a fake 20. Like, what other crime happened that day that went unpunished, unseen, unhandled? Because you got 4 cops came for a fake 20. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And that's what people don't understand, is that we're not stupid. That doesn't make any sense. Like, why was there 4 cops for a fake 20? It just doesn't make any sense to us.
What I've seen, like, during research, and like, because social media, they are sharing so many stories about, you know, police brutality, is when these cops arrive at the scene, they don't even ask questions about what's going on. Yeah. They don't ask any questions. They just see what their counterpart is doing and react, or they attack immediately. Like, I've seen so many videos where where police arrive on the scene. There's no questioning as to what happened. You know, what's going on? Why are they even arrested? There's no communication. So how is this happening? Like, I can't, like.
Well, I mean, a good example of that would be Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
Breonna Taylor. How am I in my home?
Hello?
Sleeping, and you bust through the door, kill me, shoot me several rounds, and there's no justice for me. You decide that it's okay. Okay, let's not lock this person up. Let's not lock any of these cops. Let's not do any of that. How is that possible? What kind of world are we living in where you think it's okay that you can bust in somebody's home?
No warrant.
No warrant. And just kill them.
And it was really no probable cause because everything was wrong. So really there was no reason. And it could have waited till the morning if you had some reason. If you had some questions, you could have came by at a decent hour when I wasn't asleep and we could have had a conversation. But you killed an essential worker. She was EMT. Like she was doing her due diligence in the world. But it's like, it's just a body. And like the real issue is like their mentality when they know it's an African American or a Black person or a person of color. It's like they already come into the situation like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's super aggression. It's their aggression. It's all there already. So it's like that's the issue. Before they even got to the house, it was their mentality on the way to the house. You know what I'm saying? That it just,
Not only that, the runaround and the cover up of their actions. Like hearing her mom like recollect, like go back and tell what happened that morning, like her process, and just hearing how she got the runaround, how she was sent to the hospital when the body was still at the apartment. She was told to go to the hospital, sat there for 2 hours for a worker to come out and say, there's no record there, she's not here. For her to go back, question the cops, them to ask her, oh, did she have anyone that would want to hurt her?
That's weird.
Does her and her boyfriend have domestic issues? For you to try and put a blame and create some false story and narrative of who this woman is and what you did?
Yeah. The problem with it is we have given, and I didn't even realize this, and I have a lot to learn. I'm still learning a lot between martial law and how to effectively make sure we fix this whole situation with the police system, right? But the issue is what they're doing, how they are trained is obviously not right. It's not okay. I think China, you even saying it's like a lot of them are taught to see Black and brown people and be like, you know what, that's a target, they did it.
I had an ex that was going through the academy, and so I went through it with him, and it like when he took the psych test, they were telling him like he didn't make it, he didn't pass the psych test, and they were saying that his reasoning was off, and that was because for like questions they'll ask you like if there's someone stole something from a store and you get a call, blah blah, and you go there, like what do you do, like how would you handle that? And so for the questions he was like, oh well, there's two ways to look at it, like this could be a criminal, but also it could be fake, so I would really dig in and I would, ask questions, and they were like, and like when he finished and like I talked to him afterwards and he was like, yeah, he said that my reasoning was off. And when I told him, I was like, your reasoning wasn't off. The fact is they only have one answer they're looking for, and that's the police answer. That's the standard answer, and that's what they want. They don't want you to see it two different ways. They want you to see it one way. And the one way is like when they say that false narrative of like, every day could be your last. Every case could be everybody can have a gun. And it's like, that's not really, you have to have the judgment of like, maybe he doesn't have a gun. Maybe that's a family man. Like, but they don't have that judgment when it comes to us. That's the difference. And so he didn't make it based on having good judgment. I don't think you have to have all or nothing thinking to be a police officer.
Well, I think, to be honest, a lot of it is like what's been annoying me, and I have a friend that's a cop, and he decided to be vocal on my page.
Wow.
Which
okay.
Was,
this is on Facebook?
I want to be vocal,
This is on what platform?
It was on my Facebook page, okay?
Facebook.
You said, huh?
But on Facebook, they love it.
Facebook, because I don't really, like, I don't like to talk a lot.
Conversation on Facebook.
Yeah, it's a lot, So I was basically like posting. This was when, in the beginning of all this, like kind of had started. It was basically where somebody burnt down the precinct, and they basically burnt the precinct down, and it was a white man coming out of it. And basically, I was like, oh, well, who burnt it down? Like, you know, when did you, what you think was gonna happen? You know what I mean? But so he commented on it and he was like, well, think about how many cops are losing their lives right now because of this. And it's wrong that cops are dying because of what's going on. And it's like, we're not saying to go kill the police. That's not at all what we're saying. We are saying that there is an issue that needs to be fixed. There is a difference between defunding and dismantling.
I think that the narrative also, like the media, has been twisting the narrative of what defunding the police actually means. And just like you said, Shanae, like there's a difference between defunding and dismantling. And there's a perfect example of what defunding the police and how it has been effective in Camden, New Jersey, who used to have similar crime rate and issues with the police like Chicago, that actually defunded their police, which meant to eradicate all the police that were there, rehire new police officers that were familiar with the community, that were involved with their communities, and they did hire at least 100 of the old, because not all police officers are bad. Not all of them, you know, treat people this way. And with that being done, crime rate has been down 95%. They actually have interactive gatherings and activities with the community where they know and are involved with their police officers, you know, because not everyone is perfect. Yes, they are crime, but when it comes to actually defunding, you need to actually look at the big perspective. And because it's actually been done before, I'm happy we have an example to say, hey, this is a result of what actually defunding in a community that has a relationship with their police officers looks like. You want crime down? This is what it looks like. You want to, you know, have police brutality, like having a relationship with your police officers is not a bad thing. I think that once that law was created where police officers have to have quotas. It's really what changed and created this. The stop and frisk, all of that shit is really what, you know, it heightened the situation. I'm so like, I'm mad.
No, it's true.
I hope I'm getting it across because my energy, I'm like, I can't even think. I'm just like, ugh.
It's frustrating, and it's frustrating to know that. So you guys have a problem with us fixing this whole system over here, but you're cool with defunding our education system.
Talk about it.
You're cool with defunding our healthcare system. Okay,
talk about it.
You're cool with all of that. So it's like, you know what we're saying, guys? We're just saying you guys need to fix what's going on here because it's not working. And just another thing that pissed me off, let me tell you, it was another person, clearly, you know, some Facebook friends I gotta address and, you know, delete. But you know, I have to just, you know, I have to go through it.
It's funny.
Person he had posted, and he basically said that George Floyd had did all these bad things, right? It was like all these bad things that he posted, and he was saying that, you know, more white men actually get arrested. I want to point out, let me tell you something.
Just say
black men,
Brock Turner.
Arrested, not killed.
Brock Turner. Just say Brock Turner. We will say that. I'm like Brock Turner until he goes to jail for real, forever. Keep going.
But my thing is this: when I talk to some of the black men that did the earlier part of that video that you guys all saw, some of those it wasn't reported. Some people get pulled over, black, brown, get pulled over, and literally will experience police brutality, and it won't get reported.
Facts.
Okay. So when people rely on these statistics that are, to me, a lot of the times bullshit, it kills me. Kills me. And I literally, to this point, I'm just like, stop going off of the bullshit statistics that you see and go off of what the world is telling you. To see, like you said, New Zealand, Paris, I mean, coming out, like places you thought, like, what, they with us? We didn't know. You know, you hear all of these stories come out. We're telling you, globally, we are suffering. Black people are treated horribly. I want to get into All Lives Matter because that is another thing that pisses me off. Pisses me off. And I was actually speaking to, I had to explain this to actually a cousin of mine who was basically like, well, all lives do matter. Like, we can't just, you know, go around and kill. I was like, pause it. You cannot say that all lives matter when Black lives don't matter.
Facts.
That's what that means. So let's not get into the wording of it where it's confusing you. I mean, like, we're here to explain to people Black Lives Matter does not mean we are saying the other lives don't matter. What we are saying is Black people are treated horribly in every single sector, parts, whatever you want to say, when it even comes to entertainment industry. Look how they treat our Black women. Look at how they treat our Black men like they are criminals, okay? So please understand what Black Lives Matter means, and let's not get confused in what it does mean, because it pisses me off.
But I like when I hear people say that, I think like I've already accepted the fact that like that's just like white supremacy propaganda to like use from the situation. So when I hear All Lives Matter, I'm like, and it's just so, like when people were chanting it, like I think they were in like Long Island and they were like chanting it, and they were all, you know, they were having like a protest against a protest. It's like, I'm like, that's the mindset. We're not changing that. You guys, that's racist. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just trying to be opposite. Now, when I see, like, I had a friend on Facebook and she wrote like, I just don't understand, and I feel like it came from a very genuine place. She was like, I just don't understand why the signs and the protest isn't about, instead I wanted to say in police brutality, and instead of, you know, Black Lives Matter, because all lives matter. So she's like, we should fight against police brutality. And so I'm like, you know, I was looking at her side eye, but then I was like, she had 30 comments. So and she was a non-Black person. So I'm going through the comments. Let me see what people are saying. See if she has any racist friends. And what was so dope was she had like 30 comments. One Black person said you're canceled, but everybody else was non-Black. And they were just bam, 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 like killing her with that. One guy was like, it's not just about police brutality.
Right.
Systemic, you know, systemic change, like all that kind of stuff. They're just talking about it, and like systemic oppression, and they were just saying like they were giving her real facts. And I was like, I like that. I don't feel like we're the only ones fighting anymore. Like, and I was like, I didn't have to say anything. Like, I you know, I was kind of like, maybe I should say something to her and, you know, give her the Black perspective. But, you know, her family and friends did it for her. So I've seen both sides, and I think that we need more like people like that. So I went through and I didn't say anything, but I liked all the comments, and I was like, gave them the stamp of approval, like, that's what's up. Because I think like more, and then at the end of it, the girl was like, you guys are right. I like learning from you guys. I found this link. You guys can click it. It's things to do to help Black Lives Matter. That's how she ended the post. I said, look at her. And it was like 2 days worth of change because people stepped up and explained it to them from a non-Black perspective, like shit does have to change.
Yeah.
So
I think that, you know, from watching and seeing everyone's videos again through social media and things like that, I think that it's important for them to also educate themselves on how, like, the creation of white supremacy. Ooh. And why things are the way that they are. Ooh. You know, if you don't want it to be such a Black issue, then start with yourself.
Yes.
Like, do the history on what your ancestors and your people have done and how you came to this country. Yeah. Because that's my main, I love when they're like, go back to where you came from. Like, and I'm laughing, y'all. Honestly, I'm not laughing to make light of it. No. That's honestly like my defense mechanism to keep from crying. Yeah. It's so interesting to me because, you know, we didn't ask to come. Our ancestors didn't ask to be shipped over here.
They yanked us. They was like, get your.
What's so interesting to me about it is like, we tried to do it. You wanted us to be separate? Okay, we said, fine, separate us. We started Tulsa. We started our own shit. And because you don't know how to live without us, you don't have any culture, you don't have anything to feed off of or steal, you literally are lost without us. You burn that shit down to the ground.
That's like the Tulsa racial massacre, that shit just, like, when I think about that, it's like that's been their pattern forever. It's like anytime that like Black people, we're telling you that we're already starting down here, right? Mm-hmm. At any time we've been able to literally like surpass and come up past times, you guys sometimes make it out of our situations, you guys find a way to pull us back down, and or you raise the bar higher and you change the rules. And it's like Tulsa, that was the wealthiest place in the United States at the time, the wealthiest Black community. All they did was like, okay, we're gonna go do our own thing. We're gonna build a well-oiled machine. At night, you guys put extra effort. You had private planes at night. You came in the night. Okay, you guys talk about us going out at night and us being criminals. You guys came at night.
Looting.
While we were asleep.
Out of here.
You guys talk about fire and rioting, and you burned our town down. We had said, okay, cool. We're gonna go over here. And you guys burned the town down. Burning things, first of all, we didn't learn that, okay? We didn't learn that. We came over here behind you guys, and we would have never, we couldn't riot. We would be killed. You guys were killing us. We were afraid. You guys taught us how to riot, loot. Fire is that is something that is ingrained in our history. Churches, crosses, they've been burning stuff forever. When they talk about burning stuff now, I'm like, this is not us. We don't do that. And I like that. I think, Jess, you said something with a woman that was saying that. She was like, fires, we do peaceful protest. Like that's all we know. So
well, we learned it from them. The looting. Tamara Mallory said it the best. We learned that shit from you.
Yeah.
We learned it from you. So how dare you be upset that Target burned down?
Well, you know,
how dare you?
My favorite is when Tupac was like, you keep on. We've tried it your way. We tried it with Dr. Martin Luther King. You know what I'm saying? We tried it when we was doing the protesting. When we were silent. We tried it when Colin Kaepernick, when we was doing the knee. We tried all of these things, and you didn't want to listen to us. So
y'all hated the knee. They hated the knee. They hated the knee. They thought that. Do you remember all the memes?
Disrespectful.
Colin was quiet. Do you understand? Colin was silent. He was solo. He was like he wasn't making a stir. He just was like, I'm just gonna kneel and then I'm gonna get up and play. Yeah.
I have a question. How do you guys feel about all these companies now that are making PR statements about Black Lives Matters?
Can I be? I'm gonna tell you guys, and I wanted to get into this too. Is activism etiquette, right? So like, I want to get into bringing up that I literally am fine with it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Last year, years before, they would have never done that. Especially like these networks, production companies, they would have never posted Black Lives Matter in solidarity. They would have never done anything like that. I am totally fine with them doing that now. Now, the next thing is, and I actually posted on this too, what is the next step after that? We have to hold them accountable to their words of saying Black Lives Matter, right? So if Black Lives Matter now, I want to see Black executives up in there. And I'm not saying, and I want people to understand this too, I'm not saying pick any Black person off the street and put them in an executive or a leadership role. I'm saying there are Black people that are smart, well-educated, can do the job, that deserve to be in a leadership position. Put them there. So I loved it. I was fine with it. I just want to see what the next steps are.
Just to add on to that, who are the #1 educated and business owners in America?
Black women.
Ooh, we are. Let's talk about it. For me, I want full transparency because these donations are also tax write-offs. So like you said, Sinead, what are your actions? I want full transparency. I want to see a damn plan. Just how we're on Joe Biden and whoever's running to be the next president on their African-American action. Like what? We want to see visual change and we want transparency on how you're doing that. I don't want to see you just put Black Lives Matter, yes, and especially to the NFL that were like, oh yes, we understand we're wrong. What are you going to do about it? Yeah. Colin still don't have a damn job. What are you going to do about it? Thank you. Thank you for finally realizing. But full transparency is what we need to see. I want to see your actions, and we have to hold them accountable. Like, all right, you said this, so let's see how many people. Let's dissect it. Let's see what you're working with now, and let's see where you should be, where you need to be and get.
But that's accountability. We got to hold them accountable. But I do believe Colin did get picked up.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
But who? Okay, that's another. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, he did, and it's in the word. I forgot what team. What team it is.
I think it was a Black owner, like a Black owner that owns a team. I think he was in talks. But what I was saying was a public statement. I think it makes it easier to keep them accountable because now we have a starting point to reach back from. So you posted on da 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 in 2020 about that, and I'm not getting it. So you said you stand now. Before it was just like a shot in the dark when something bad happened to you. Now I think the public statement keeps them accountable on a worldwide level. So that's why I like it. I also like when I go into establishments, like a lot of people say like, oh, you know, it's fake, blah, blah, it's really trendy right now. But I think like our kids, they never get to see a world that's accepting of them. And so for instance, like I went to get, you know, a smoothie, right? And in the smoothie place, it said Black Lives Matter on the you know, on the wall. And I was like, ooh, as I walked in, I was like, okay. And like, you know, I had my sweatshirt on, and I was like, it was dope, because it was like, people are like, Black Lives Matter. And like, even though it could be completely like, I don't know people's internal thoughts and intentions, but I'm like, for a kid to walk up, you know, a young kid, and see Black Lives Matter at Jamba Juice, like that's a big deal. They don't see that. They see all this BS, and they see other people like white is good, black is bad, or, you know, like you have to climb a certain level. Like, just to see that they matter, I don't have a problem. I want them to keep that up all forever. Keep it in the window. I think Black Lives Matter should be on every building, every billboard, every wall.
It is changing. You're seeing a change. Like, I will say, I think this is totally different. When Trayvon Martin died, that hit my heart. And I thought that things were going to change then. This change with George Floyd, I can see it, and I can feel it. I can see allies and people coming out that never were coming out before. I literally have been talking to some of my white friends and literally telling them, you know, like, hey, I've had messages like, they're like, what can I do? And I'm like, look, I just need for you now to speak out, because literally we need your help. Like, we need your help. We've been
educate your family and friends.
Yeah.
Educate them.
Period.
Why we feel this way. Yeah. I'm sorry, Shanae.
I've been to the Museum of Tolerance. Like, I went on a date one time with a black guy. He took me on a date there. I've been there with school. It's like, I know who Anne Frank is. I do my research, even though it has nothing to do with me. They have to get comfortable in not being so entitled and coming outside of their own self and doing research about other people. You cannot be so self-centered that you think the world revolves around you. And I think a lot of non people of color don't understand that, because the world has, you know, been enforced the world has enforced that, you know, it's all about them and that people are lesser than them. So I think they really need to do the research and learn about what we've been through and what systemic oppression is. They have to learn about those things, because some stuff, like you said, people have been writing you. A lot of people have been asking questions like, how do you not know that there's a difference, or that things exist and don't exist for us? Like, that's doing your own research.
Yeah. I think that as a people too, our community has to do our own education and research, just to understand where we go from here. Because, right, I feel like we have, with, you know, George Floyd, I think we were fed up and this is what sparked the change, and the world was fed up. Yeah. So us banding together and using this power now is to also make sure that we're transparent in these communities and groups that are for Black people as well. Like, I feel like everyone should take part of something. Like, this group should be responsible for education system being changed. This group, because it's systematic, and the system isn't just police brutality. Like, that's just one level. Yeah. You know? So I feel like we need to make sure that we're making the change with each group take like on a responsibility. Everyone educate yourself, take on a responsibility when it comes to how we're going to make this change, and be transparent in those changes. And again, like, our people, we have to educate ourselves too on who we really are, where we come from, and why they feel like they're so mad that every time they literally take everything away from us, we continue to make something out of nothing. Mm-hmm. Over and over and over again, we make something out of nothing, and they can't fathom. They're like, we changed the law again. We took this away from them. We told them they can't do this, but they still prevail. How the fuck?
Well, that's the thing that I will tell you. I love our Black culture for that. I love the fact that we can take something so small and make it the best thing. We have, our humor is insane. You know, I love the fact that, like, literally, somebody did a clip the other day, and I started cracking, and it was like the different Black laughs and together. Because we'll laugh about the little thing, and it'll be like funny as hell for us, and it'll be comedy. And we make the best out of situations. I think about like our ancestors when they would literally come up with like, old like songs, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Spiritual healing songs, or you know what I mean? Like just hearing that soulfulness in their voices of making the best out of situations. Like they would sing to literally communicate with each other. You know what I mean? We literally doing that with our own, with hip hop culture, we do that. Then the fact that you want to take our culture and then not put some respect on our names with it, that's wild to me.
Yeah.
Whew.
But
Honestly, y'all,
I wanted
I'm
to point out when you said, Jessica, because you said something with George Floyd, where you were basically like, George Floyd wasn't in, it was somebody that did a quote that I wanted to read, and it was basically like, George Floyd isn't a wake-up call. The same alarm has been ringing since 1619. Y'all just keep hitting snooze.
mm,
That was like, for me, like,
wow.
you have no idea. That's what it was for us. George Floyd was that for us. And like, another thing is too, and you said it too, Jessica, of like the education factor and being kind, I think, to other people too that don't know. Can we talk about the blackout? The blackout and how people were so hard on people for accidentally putting hashtag Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. It was like playing telephone, you know? So many people, like, whoever was in charge of it, like, by the time it got to the millions of other people, the message had got a little misconstrued. But that's okay. Like, we still got the point across. Regardless, we still got the point across. And once we played telephone again to say, take out Black Lives Matter, we did it. Like, we don't have, I feel like we're so, like, hard on each other. We're so, like, defensive when it comes to each other and, like, just loving each other. We're not used to households are coming from just love, y'all. It's okay. Everything isn't gonna be perfect. Like, we're learning. We're trying to come together like our counterparts and make sure that we get this thing right this time around. And it's okay. We have some learning curves to go through.
Yeah, and sometimes
Go ahead, China.
sometimes we're harder on ourselves too. But I was like, I remember my cousin, she works for Color of Change, and I like that she was saying like, if you're too nitpicky, you'll ruin the momentum. So basically saying like, either just be gracious that people are, you know, that it's working, and then charge it to the game. Like, and then I went to go look at the hashtag to see if it was getting watered down or whatever, and it really wasn't as watered down as people were making it.
Right.
And people were saying like it's a conspiracy to push down Black Lives Matter, and it was like it got really out of hand, and it was making people feel like, well, shit, I can't do anything right. I'm just gonna not do anything at all. And it's like you have to be so gentle and careful because we don't want to hurt people that are trying. And it's, we have to celebrate every step that people are at, because posting a Black square, sometimes it's just about showing solidarity. That's it. It doesn't have to be about the message. Just like, okay, you with us, okay, okay. And then some people are like, oh, some people are just doing it because it's trendy, so I'm not gonna do it. That mindset is weak too. I don't mess with that. It's like, it's not about being a follower. It's about, hey, whatever I gotta do to help and push the motive, I'm gonna help. I want to get to the goal. And if we're all on board to get to the goal, I see you. Now I'm gonna also keep you accountable because I know you did it. So were you with us? Like, it's all for accountability. And I think we need to be way more gracious and gentle with people.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to say, you know, Shanae, go ahead and talk because
So I'm, you know, I'm like, I feel like
I'm a Dutch. Like, can I jump in?
I'm in there. Go ahead.
The last thing that I wanted to say is that I feel like I've kind of felt guilty for not like posting as much when it comes to this, but it's also like me educating myself and educating my peers like behind the scenes. There's so much internal work that people are doing during this time. Like, we communicate, we send messages, you know, in our own private chat, we communicate with our families. Just because it's not out there on social media doesn't mean that we're not taking actions and trying to educate ourselves before we step out and say, we're a part of this, we're with this, you know, we're with that. Like, sometimes it takes time to just know and figure out. There's so much stuff being thrown at us. You want to be able to take it in, soak in, educate yourself on what the actual movement is to make sure you're not participating on something that is supposed to go against something that is supposed to be really great. The last thing I want to say is that my ancestors, I'm Haitian. Listen, I'm with everyone. For me, it's also getting into the mindset that we have constantly been oppressed by the same system, the same people. So why do we keep asking them for permission to be a part of their club, their secret society, their whatever the fuck they got going on? Why do we keep asking them to be a part of something? They want us to be like, they want no parts of us to be, you don't know what I'm trying to say. You know? So
no, real. That's
if they don't want us with them,
they don't want us to fucking be a part of it. Okay,
that takes
let's do our own shit. Like, listen, if we can band together and get 13 million for George Floyd and his family, that also shows how much money we have, how much power we have. And we know this. Like, so just think about that. Don't, like, that business that you wanted to start, sis, do it. Get together with your friends. Educate yourself on what you can actually do to keep the Black dollar in our communities so that we can build ourselves without having to have someone that is, per se, the leader and speaking out. Do it internally so that we can all see. And hello, telecommunications, hello, telepathy here, and do it. Like, stop asking for permission.
Understand this too. I think it's very important that people understand this. For solidarity, when we did the blackout, it was supposed to be, you know, this black square solidarity, but it was all supposed to be like you were supposed to be posting things on the movement and the reasoning why we're doing it, right? I think another thing people need to understand is that also too, it was voting for primaries in certain states, right? So then people are upset, but you know, you're missing the point. First of all, let's calm it down. Do another post if you want to talk about the primaries. Also, let's keep in mind too, that same day, you can remind people, but the people that were going to vote for the primaries that day, they were going to vote for the primaries that day, okay? Right. And it's an extra, just an extra ad. I'm not saying you didn't have to do it. I'm just saying, one of the best things I watched, and I don't know if you guys saw it, My Brother's Keeper Alliance, which I highly agree, I highly hope would like for everybody to follow, donate, give back to them. That organization was started when Trayvon Martin was pretty much murdered. So it's about uplifting and spreading awareness just on the brotherhood and what goes on with our young Black men too. But Obama spoke. And one of my favorite things he said when he was speaking was, said, this is not either or, you know, it's a both and situation. So if you want to do the blackout, that doesn't mean that you can't do other stuff. Right? Or if you want to post on the blackout and then do voting that day, that you can do both. You can sit here and own a business, a Black-owned business, and then you can also speak out over here. You don't have to do one thing. You don't have to donate to one place. You don't have to protest at one march. You don't have to, and I really loved hearing him saying that, because I kept having friends that were like, well, I'm not gonna do that. Well, why can't you? Why can't you do all of it?
Yeah. Or if you only could do one. Like, I've seen people like, I was like,
do what you can.
You could, do what you can. I was like, I saw people that did like the cold water and they made stands for people that are protesting. I was like, dang, I want to do something like that. Like, you know, I only have one good hip and one good knee. So I was like, I can't get any rubber bullets. Like, I cannot do it. You know, guys, I only have half a body. So I was like, I want to maybe, you know, I want to really help out. So, but it's like getting creative. Like, I was like, that's so dope that people made stands with like masks and water. It's like there's so many other ways to help. Or like the guy that you know, that got in between, like some Black people were getting arrested and he was recording like, hey, are you supposed to be arresting them? And he was not playing. He was like, what did they do? Sir, did you do something? Listen, it's like getting involved. It sounds crazy, but like when people say literally getting in between a situation, it sounds crazy, but we really need that type of action where you're like putting your body in between mess. We need you there because that is going to protect us. That is going to save us. That type of action is the level of action we really need from people. When you see injustice, stop it. Don't just drive by. Don't think it's someone else's problem. Don't think they probably have probable cause, because as you're seeing and as you're hearing from these Black men in our mouths, a lot of times there's no real probable cause. And a lot of people have been innocently slaughtered, and we got to stop it.
I like that you said that because, you know, I think we've touched on it, but having white friends asking what can they do, how can they help, all of this kind of stuff. And I do think you just said it right there. It's like it's speaking out also for our people and other people. You know, everybody's speaking out. one of the things with that post where the cop was basically, my cop friend was basically saying, well, you know, do you think all cops should die? What I ended up doing, we were going back and forth on the thread. Everybody's reading on my Facebook, like, what's going on with this? Why are you guys going at it? And I ended up ending the conversation and saying, you know what? Let's understand what this cause is for. If you can agree that your brotherhood, stop trying to protect your brotherhood and really realize that this is a human rights issue that needs to be addressed. But on top of that,
basic human rights, basic human rights,
then can you agree to this? Can you at least go on ahead? And what I did was I said, let's cut all the nonsense. I'm gonna go on ahead and drop this petition right here so you can get these police arrested. And then I'm gonna drop this other petition for you right here so I can go on ahead and have this Breonna Taylor situation addressed. So sign these petitions. And you know what he said? He said, you know what? You're right. All right, done. And he ended up signing the petition. And literally had another friend comment on the post, and she was like, I don't believe it till I see it. And then, so he commented back and he said, I sent it to Shanae. I checked my message because I was like, he's probably lying, but I checked my messages. He sent me a screenshot. And that made me feel good because normally I wouldn't speak. I would be like, you know, I'm not gonna do this.
Yeah.
But me saying something, and even if it was that one person and I got to get that extra signature, that made me feel good. And I do think it's important. Speak out and say something in any way or shape or form. Like you said, Jess, it's like, even if you doing things internally, you don't have to say it for the whole world. But sometimes some people just don't know. And I do agree. Amanda Seals did a post on her trampoline where she was basically saying like,
you Google.
Yeah, Google it.
Educate yourself.
Educate yourself.
At the time.
And I agree with that. But I also, at the same time, if you have friends in your circle that are really coming to you and they're asking you,
of course.
Yeah.
It don't hurt.
Give them guidance.
Give it
There's
to
a lot of misinformation online. So give them some type of guidance. And it's not to say, like you said, Shanae, like we all have a connection to the police, whether they're in our family, whether we know one, you know. So we're not, again, saying all cops are bad. We're just saying that a change needs to happen. There's injustice, there's mistreatment, and something is being, I don't know, taught to them or misconstrued somehow in the training, in the psych test, that we're criminals before they even ask a question, before they even know our names.
Generational stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like it literally is going to, it's literally, the change is going to happen with people's children. It's like when people are saying like, oh, I don't see color, but it's like literally teaching your children that color does exist and that people are different and that sometimes you're going to have to use your privilege to help someone that doesn't have that privilege. Those are the conversations you need to have, not like everyone's equal, because we know that it's been proven that everyone's not equal. And if we were equal, that would be another issue for you guys. So that's how I know we're not equal. So I think like those are the conversations that we need to have and we can't be afraid to have, but I also don't like deflecting. So like you guys were saying, like if people are coming to you guys with facts, do not deflect. Do not make it oh, I'm a great police officer. Like, of course, then we're not talking about you. We're talking about the bad ones. Like, don't deflect on our feelings. And I think a lot of, like, that's been a lot of the conversation when you say things, they're like, well, white people get arrested, you're deflecting. I'm talking about us. All lives matter. It's deflecting. All of that is deflecting. And it's like, just listen. And sometimes that's how you can help, by listening. Listening, that's a good thing. So that's my take.
I love that. Don't deflect, because I feel like that is always what happens. It's deflecting. And I think you guys said it best too. Jess, you were just saying, it's like all lives, you said it, and I think we all were saying it. All lives matter. Understand that clearly all lives don't matter. Another thing is like educating yourself. But one of the things before, because I know we got to get out of here and we got to wrap it up. What are some of the things that people can do to help that maybe don't know, right? So we know that when we did a post on this, it's taking action, whatever way you see feels fit. I'll be honest with you guys. So I can't do certain protests. I literally have a temper switch to certain things like that. So if I see something, I will say something and I will react to it in a certain way. And I realize I'm not there yet to not break down in certain public settings with certain stuff like this. So I have chosen to do other things, whether that be donating, signing petitions, literally joining different organizations. There's other ways that you can help speak out. And I'm working on myself to get prepared to be able to do a proper protest. But I just want people to know, take action, donate. There's a few places that you guys can donate to. Color of Change. Go on ahead, China, and then I'll wrap it up.
I was also saying, like, I've been working with my students, and I think also it's like a no judgment zone. And I feel like until you've actually been in someone's shoes, you cannot judge how they grieve, how they protest. Like, you just can't. And like, that's something that I was talking to my supervisor about. And it's like, you have to come into like situations like this with a super open mind, because it's like, I don't know if something happened to my brother, my little brothers, and one of them was killed, I might want to burn the whole city down easily. But I don't know. I haven't lost anyone yet. How could I tell a mother who's lost a son how to grieve? How could I tell a sister? How could I tell people that have seen injustice how to react? So I think the no judgment zone is where we all should be at, where we're just like observing and learning. So that's something we should all take away from every situation. Whether it's people talking on Facebook, you need to observe how they're talking and learn from what they're saying. If you see them talking reckless, now you learned that that's not an ally. That's someone that's, you know what I'm saying, that's on the other side. So it's like observing and learning is something that we should all be doing.
Yeah, I definitely want, I wanted to throw out a few places just for people that just don't know where to donate to, just some suggestions that kind of we have. Definitely taking the action, speaking out in whatever way you see fit. Color of Change, China was talking about a little bit here.
Love them.
Yeah, just giving to them. Grassroots Law, Sean King, if you guys don't follow him, he's super dope, amazing. He is all about getting justice. Literally, they're all about signing petitions. They will send them directly to you. They literally will draft up a whole email for you, and all you have to do is push send. Like, literally, they do all of that. Like, they're a part of the movements as far as like raising money for these families that don't have enough money to have attorneys. You know what I mean? So Grassroots Law is great. Bailout Fund. Bailing out those protesters, I give to them because I literally, like I said, I'm working to be able to protest. I'm not there yet. So I literally donate to them. Literally having those protesters get locked up, fighting our cause, like, help. It helps. Protest, speak out, do whatever you guys literally feel like you can to help. Allies, we need you. We need you. We're asking you to be with us, to be on our side. Whatever that means from the list we just gave you, please do. And understand this, we are in this together. It is not just about Black people. This is about all of us.
All people.
All people. All right, so that's enough from the Block Party PM. Guys, look forward to the full video of our Black men speaking out on this. Again, it's a few of our Black men that we got together with. It's a full video that we're gonna be dropping soon. Please make sure to like, subscribe, get the word out, especially on this one, because it's really from our heart. And again, we're not telling you what to do. This is just our personal experiences as Black women in this country. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. Follow us, Block Party PM. We thank you. We love you. All right, y'all. See ya.
You know, we here. They can't stop us. We here.